Hi, friends. I hope you're making the best of the forced and prolonged vacation that we're all going through. Yes, we are suddenly all rich with one commodity, and it's called time. There is a beautiful quote I was reading about time, which says, time is free, but it's priceless. You can't own it, but you can use it. You can't keep it, but you can spend it. And once you've lost it, you can never get it back. So while I did spend my time usefully, I also gained in the bargain. Like all of you, I have added some new, frequently used words in my vocabulary, perhaps the same as you did. And in the last few weeks, words like unprecedented COVID 19 pandemic, Wuhan, PPEs, masks, ventilators, quarantine, lockdown, and so many more. Yes, these are unprecedented times in our lives and in the history of the world. Living in uncertainty with the lurking fear of the unknown is something we've never dealt with before. But we have to count our blessings. I'm counting mine every day because I'm blessed to be under a roof with my family, with food and shelter. I am very concerned about those people who are away from their families, living in camps in isolation, stranded in the middle of nowhere, and waiting for this event to be over where the end doesn't seem to be in sight. If we look back in time, history has created situations like these before. If you remember 9/11, it was a geopolitical situation. It brought the world and the mighty USA on its knees. And what we ended up with were multiple layers of security that till today we have to go through, whether it's an airport, whether it's a railway station, or a mall, or a movie hall. I mean, almost everywhere there is a public place, you have to go through layers of security. And this became a permanent feature after 9/11. This was followed by a 2008 economic meltdown that was created by the economic collapse thanks to the Lehman Brothers crisis in the United States. And what this created was more regulated banks, central banks that started to work towards transparency in banks, and we had a more, I would say, a more regulated system of banking as compared to what was at that time. And now, of course, this coronavirus pandemic, which literally brought the world to its knees and a grinding halt. What will now become a way of life going forward is masks, social distancing, better hygiene, and all these will be the new normal. But reboot we must and move on. For now, no definitive answer, but a glimmer of hope. And there's some light at the end of the tunnel. One thing is for sure, April 2020 is washed out from all our calendars. And let's hope May opens the doors to going forward. History, if you again look at history, it has proven that we bounce back, and each time we hit a new low, we come back with more vigor and more confidence. I'll give you some examples. Japan was decimated in World War II. No one gave them a chance. And then they bounced back in 3 decades and made the USA sweat. Israel, a tiny little country, withstood the Arab onslaught and stormed back. India had no chance to win the Cricket World Cup in 1983. That famous Kapil Dev's 175 innings of 175. Nobody gave them a chance. And they won the World Cup in 1983. Experts never gave Auronnima Sinha a chance when she had that brutal, horrific accident where she lost her legs. They said she would never walk, but she climbed the Himalayas, not once, but more than that. And it all just goes to prove that, the human motivation, determination, and grit has no boundaries. And we have proved this time and time again. If we again introspect and look at independent India and its journey over the past 70 years, we started and transited from needing roti, kapda, or makan and moved on to bijli, sadak, and pani. And we are still trying to bring our country to the world map as a developed nation. And if you see the Constitution of India, it mandates that all this and more should be part of every citizen's needs and life. For example, every citizen should wake up in the morning, press a button, get some electricity, open a tap, and have potable water coming out of that, walk out onto a clean street, have access to affordable and comfortable public transport, send his children to good public schools, have access and coverage to good affordable healthcare, have the support of a trusted police and a very efficient judiciary. So all these are part of every citizen's needs, and a lot has been done in this area, and of course, a lot needs to be done. So it's a work in progress. I often say sometimes when I interact with people, the younger people, that geography is now history, and science fiction is becoming a reality. Business is being done at the speed of thought, and we are so connected now that we cannot exist in isolation. I am a die-hard optimist. I believe in the idea of India, and completely and wholeheartedly believe that going forward we will be a force to reckon with. I marvel at our people, their resilience, and the ability to rebound from any situation, as I gave you some examples. And the current situation is no different from the earlier ones. Without a doubt, there is no parallel to the damage caused by this immeasurable. The damage is immeasurable if you take a benchmark of previous damage caused by events such as this. At the same time, we need to look back at the positives in this huge pile of negatives. It is important to, sort of delve deeper and take out the positives, which in turn will become our strengths going forward. Since I represent the business community, my take is that businesses will reinvent themselves. Working from home, hygiene, social distancing, and eating healthy will be the new normal. Some sectors, of course, are going to take a bad hit, and sectors like the airlines, hospitality, tourism, and also restaurants and multiplexes, malls, this will result in huge unemployment. And for their sake, I just hope that this end is nearer to than what we are really perceiving it to be. Fortunately, more than 50% of our population is in the rural and farm areas, and they are gainfully working to harvest the Rabi crop, and that will be followed by the Kharif crop. Food produce is critical for the country, and a huge salute to the farmers who will make this possible. And the weather gods are likely to be favorable with a good monsoon, as is being forecasted. The government, on the other hand, is grappling with containment of a lot of restless people and doing a remarkable job at that. They are seized of the economic stress too and will perhaps come out with a fiscal stimulus package very soon for the small businesses in particular. RBI recently announced its second tranche of incentives and benefits to businesses and banks. And I'm sure this is going to have a large impact in the stress that is being experienced by the economy. Of course, fiscal deficit will be compromised, and very smart short term and long term measures must be taken to get us all back on track. Of course, in a calibrated and a structured manner. In our favor is the benefit of low oil prices and a substantial foreign exchange reserve of over $450 billion. But it will be a huge balancing act for sure. And as always happens in situations such as these, there will be deaths and there will be success stories. It is truly a world where the fittest will survive. The new opportunities have and will emerge when there will be a quantum shift in the supply chains worldwide. China is no longer a reliable source, as this is being voiced by leading developed economies. And India is figuring substantially high on the list of companies that are looking at sourcing products from countries other than China. The supply chains of the world are looking at India with a huge opportunity that may emerge in the very near future. Of course, it is not for the government to do just provide the fiscal deficit, but to also create opportunities through matchmaking and connecting global economies to Indian companies. The Indian missions, trade missions in different countries, have a huge role to play in this by showcasing India's prowess as a manufacturing nation. And I think they have a huge role to play in the days to come. But at the same times, there are lessons to be learned for sure. We need to slow down in our lives sometimes, even if we are forced to. I was just thinking we could make this 2 week shutdown an annual exercise for the world to reboot. I mean, each country could choose its own 2 weeks, but it would really help to rejuvenate and revitalize people, the planet, the environment, and everything would probably, work towards a better tomorrow. How often have you had the pleasure and privilege of listening to sounds of birds which perhaps you'd forgotten existed? Nature forced us to even the odds, and we are now all breathing cleaner air without the odd and even. What can be more? How can we not preserve this? We are all answerable, of course, to what was created and what can be rectified going forward. Health is, of course, the real wealth. Aren't we paying a huge economic cost to preserve the same? This event is testimony to that. Hopefully, we should also see the same urgency and research efforts from the health industry to find permanent cure and remedies for all the millions that die every year of diabetes, heart disease, renal failure, pulmonary failure, etc. Can we not work on a war footing to find solutions to cure these perennial diseases which have been taking millions of lives every year? I'm sure the medical industry will rethink on the urgency to look at these as well. Our dietary habits will change and we will rely more on natural foods to build our immune systems. A very dear friend of mine has taken this as a crusade to arm the world with immunity without drugs. And I feel that is the future of human existence. But this apart, we in good humor, we must remain too. And because there is that one crucial ingredient for building our immunity and for overall well-being. And that ingredient is called happiness. My Facebook page is flooded with crazy corona learnings and side effects. The idea being to lighten the otherwise mundane daily routine that we are all having to experience. Of course, a lot of us are gainfully working towards using technology as a part of a communication tool and connecting with friends, businesses, and across the country and the world. So, despite donning these masks, let the smile come through. Believe it or not, we have it in us to survive anything. And with a bit of virtual help, we are all going to get through this. Imagine having to go through all of this without a cell phone. All of us have today that advantage of connecting with pretty much everything through a cell phone, be it people or even entertainment of any kind. Of course, some side effects, how could I not mention that, is the fact that we are all growing a lot of hair and not having a barber to do anything or a salon to go to. And the same applies to the ladies. So I guess I will have a little candid camera of before and after shots once all this is over and people start heading to salons and hairdressers to get rid of all the extra growth that they have allowed to be part of their comfort zone while they were in this quarantine period. Well, I'll leave you with three pertinent thoughts. Three thoughts that always come back to me somehow in every situation is one is that, of course, everything in our lives happens for a reason, and we have to look for the good in that reason. The second one is that life always gives you two options. It is for us to choose what we think is the right one, and no matter what the outcome, it should not change you or us as a person. So these three parting thoughts before I just say a quick goodbye to you. So till next time, enjoy the back-to-back weekends, and together let's beat the hell out of this you know what. See you sometime soon. Bye bye.